Welcome back to my jQuery crash course lesson number 5, and in today's video I'm going to be going over jQuery animations. And by the end of this video you're going to create an animation that's pretty close to this. So we click a button and then we can see this image pop up, and then also if you take a look at the button here we can see the opacity here change and it comes back, so it kind of like disappears and appears again. And so before I actually get started, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any new jQuery lessons or any other tutorials. And I also have a pretty big announcement, which is going to be I'm going to start tutoring people. So if you need a web development tutor, then make sure that you hit me up on Instagram or Discord or anywhere else. But now, enjoy this video. To get started, I'm going to create an element and I'm going to create a div. You can make any other element that you want to animate. And this is going to be for HTML right now because I'm going to style it. I'm going to set the basic property, so width and height, and then the background color so that we can see it. And I'm going to choose a random color, and I got gray. So there's my square now, or the div. And now we're going to go to the JavaScript file, and I'm going to teach you the animation syntax with jQuery. So first thing that we have to do is select the element. So I'm going to do div. Then I'm going to write .animate, which is going to be the method. Inside of it, we're going to use the curly brackets, and here we're going to write something. And I'm actually going to show you an example. So I'm going to open W3 Schools, and over here, if I scroll down, we're going to see the syntax. So we have the selector here, and then the method. And then here we're going to write the params, speed, callback. So that's basically a function. And so here we have a basic example. So we're selecting a div, we're writing .animate, and then we have a left here, 250 pixels. That's kind of like adding margins. So I'm going to do the same thing. If we do left, let's do 250 pixels. And if I reload, then we can see that nothing happens here. Let's actually go to the devlog. And then if we actually look here, then we can see that the style has been added, but it's not working. And that's because we have to change the position here. So let's just change it to relative. And so now we're going to see it move 250 pixels to the right. And if I reload, then we can kind of see it work. And so to actually make this work a lot better, what we can do is add a button. So button, like me, let's do that. And when we click the button, then we can run this animation. So let's select the button first. Button.click. Let's make a function right here. And so now we can see the cube here. And I'm actually gonna do this. So let's do margin bottom 10 pixels so that we have some space here. There we go. So now when I click the button, then we can see that the cube basically moves to the right. But if you remember the syntax, then we're missing the speed. So to write the speed, after the curly brackets here, we're going to add a comma, and then we're going to write the speed in milliseconds. So I'm going to make this really slow, and I'm going to set the speed to 2 seconds, so it's going to be 2000 milliseconds. Now, if I click it, then we can see the cube move to the right really slowly. If you want it fast, then you can change it to 500 milliseconds, and now we're going to see it go really quick. So this is how we can add speed here. And what we can do is actually also add a callback function. So let's create a function. And here, let's just console log something. So um, animation, and see how this works. So if we click the button, then we're going to get this animation log from here, which means that we can also do something after this animation ends. So let's select it again and do the same thing. I'm going to fix that. And so what most people think that we would have to do is, because this is left, then we would have to change this to right. So let's do that. And if I click it, then it's not going to go back because we have to keep it the same property. So left, and then we basically just change this back to 0 pixels to where it was. And if we actually click the button now, then we're going to see this basic animation going back and forth. So because there is values like, let's say, changes back to 250 pixels, we can also do negative. So right here we have the positive, and then the negative is basically going to be out of the screen. And this is what it would look like. So if I do this, then now it's basically going to go over here. And even if I change this, we're not going to see it because over here is going to be 0. So that's a way that we can hide our elements. And if we actually click it again, then we're going to see this animation run again. We can also do a lot more than just changing one property. So I'm going to actually delete this part because we can do that later. Um, Fix this like that. And I'm going to show you how we can add more properties than just one. So I'm going to make it like this, or you can keep it at how it was and just add different properties. So right now what we're doing is moving it to the left by 250 pixels. Let's see if we can move it to top by 250 pixels. So basically just moving it down like this. So if I click it, now it's going to move to the left and also top or right and bottom by 250 pixels. We can also change the width and height. So let's do that. Let's do width. Let's do 100 pixels, or it's 100 pixels right now, I think. Let's see. So let's do 150 pixels, copy paste this, change this to height. Let's see. So now it's going to change in size too. And I think we can change this to 200 pixels and it's not going to look that bad. So I'll do that. There we go. That worked. Now we can also change other things like opacity. So let's do that. Opacity, I'm going to change this to 2.4. Now it's going to be almost transparent. So we can basically use all CSS properties and so on. But let's say for things like, let's actually go here and let's change this to margins. So we can delete this. And so to basically do margins, let's say that I want to do margin left. Instead of writing margin left, we can see that we get an error basically. Let's do 100 pixels, fix this. So we can see that we get an error. And that's because this is not how we do it with JavaScript. The way that we do it is we remove that and then we just capitalize the letter after. So now it's going to be margin left. And then I'm going to fix this. So click it. Now it's going to go 100 pixels. Let's do 250 like that. And then now we can do the same thing but with top. So margin top, same thing. So now we're going to see it go like from before, but now we're using margins. Now we're going to move on to using predefined values, and you guys already know them. So let's let's do the height. So we're going to select the height. And what we're going to do is write hide. And you should probably already know what's going to happen. So when we click this, it's basically going to roll up. So it's the width is not changing and it's only the height. So what I'm going to do here is let's do this and then let's make a function here, which is going to do the opposite. So function, we're going to copy this, paste this here, remove this part, and then we're going to change this to show. So when we click it, it's going to basically roll in and then roll out. And let's actually take a look at the style here. So when we click it, we're going to see the height here change. So we can do the same thing with width. Click it, and then it's going to do the same thing. Yeah, it didn't go in because I messed up here. So width, go in and go out. So we can do hide and show, but then we can also do toggle. So let's try toggle. We can actually remove this part now because we're using toggle. So we're gonna do this. Fix that. So like this. So now when we click it, it's gonna go in, but then when we click it again, it's gonna go out. So when we use toggle, it's going to toggle from hide to show or the opposite. And so you can also change this to opacity and other things. So play around and see what you get. So we can see the opacity is kind of like fading in and fading out. We can see over here the opacity actually changing. But what we're going to do now is actually create a pretty cool animation, which is going to be we click a button and then we have this image, it gets bigger, and that's pretty cool. And also take a look at the button. So when I click it, we're going to see it disappear and then appear again, which is a pretty cool touch that I added. Now, this is what I did for my CSS file. I changed the background image to this URL. That's basically just this image, which I found on Google. And then the reason that I did the background position X and Y instead of to center is because this is what it would look like if I wouldn't have done that. So make sure you do that if your image doesn't look good. And now let's go over the JavaScript. So first thing that we need to do is select the button. Let's do this. So btn el, that's going to be the button here. So we're going to select the button. And then we're going to do the same thing for the div. So I'm going to do div element, and that's going to be set to div here. And now I'm going to select the button element and I'm going to add a click. So on click, we're going to create a function. And so inside of this function, what we're going to do is we're going to change or add all of the animations. So let's start with the div element dot animate. And the first thing that I did was change the width to 100%. So it really depends on the width of your window. And the reason I'll show you why I made this window bigger later, but that depends on the image. So I'm going to set this to 1 second. Let's copy and paste this under. And then now I'm going to change the height to something like, let's just do 500 pixels. So 500 pixels. And now I'm going to select the button element, do the same thing. So animate. And I'm going to animate the opacity. And then I'm going to set this to hide. And we're going to do also 1 second for this one. Paste this here. Now change this to show, and then this is going to be 2000 now instead of 1. And let's see if it works now. So when I click the button, we can see this pretty cool animation. And so we can actually go full screen here and see what that looks like. So it's going to go full screen for the width, and it's going to go down. And so this is going to be for this video. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, then leave a like, sub to the channel for more content like this. Leave a comment down below if you have any video requests, questions, or any other things you would like to say. Make sure that you hit me up if you want a web development tutor. And hopefully see you in the next video.